Hey guys, so there's something that I've been wanting to talk to you guys about because I get asked about this a lot. A lot of you are in bands that are ready to go on tour. You're doing great in your local area, you draw lots of people, you've got a great presence in your city, but you just don't know how to expand and get to the next cities and states and start to tour. Well, luckily for you, I pretty much did the same exact thing and I started from scratch. Most of you probably know by now, Attila didn't blow up overnight. We had a long, hard struggle, and I actually had to self-book all of our tours. So, therefore, I know how to do this. So, I'm pretty much the best person to give advice for this. So, let's start from square one. How do you know when your band's ready to go on tour? Well, the first thing I would say is, are you drawing, at least a couple hundred or few hundred people at every local show that you guys play in your city? That's usually a good sign. If you've built up enough fans to at least have a couple hundred people come see you at your show, that usually means, hey, it's time to spread out and start making fans in other states. So here is the process and how it works. It's not that difficult. It just takes time. So bear with me. So here you are, you draw, like I said, 200 to maybe 500 people per local show. You're doing great. Now the key is you want to find bands in surrounding states that are doing the same thing as you. So I'll use Attila for example. We were drawing anywhere from 300 to 500 people per local show. So what I would do is I would find bands of similar size from Alabama, from Florida, from Virginia, even further if I had to, because not every local band is that big. And what I would do is I would offer them a show trade. I would say, hey, look, I will put you on our show in Atlanta. You'll get to play in front of 300 to 500 people if you put us on your show in Virginia and we get to play in front of your fans. It's mutually beneficial, it helps out your band to grow fans in a new state, and it helps them the same way. So, like I said, it's a long process, but you have to do this in every single state, and this is how you spread out. Let's say that you work really well together with this band. Well, what you guys could do is you guys could book a little mini tour together and start hitting even more states. It's something that people don't really think about very much these days, but it's teamwork essentially. You're teaming up with another band to progress both of your careers, and this is exactly what Attila did in the beginning stages. I'll give you an example. We would team up with a band that maybe did really well in the Northeast, and we did really well in the Southeast, and we would book an entire East Coast tour. And I would be responsible for booking Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia, and they would be responsible for doing Maryland, Jersey, New York, and everywhere else up north. And that's kind of how you branch this out and make it bigger. You start small, you start branching out state to state, you keep doing it, you stay persistent, you start growing your fan base in these states, and then at that point, hey, you've got a fan base in a whole section of the country. Well, now you can find bands that are doing the same thing in another section of the country, combine forces, and you've got a tour, and you're covering a lot of ground at that point. So, me explaining it almost makes it sound easier, but you have to remember this. I was sitting on my computer for like 16 hours a day when I was young, booking all these shows and making this happen. It was a long process. It wasn't easy. This didn't happen overnight. And eventually we got to a point where, we could do week-long tours or 2-week-long tours. And we even had a point where I booked us like a month-long tour, self-booked. And keep in mind, this isn't playing a show every day, and shows fell through and shit happened, and that's how it is in this industry. But persistence is what got us to where we are, and that's how we started touring. So if you're in a band and you want to go on tour, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, are you ready to tour? Do you guys have what it takes? If you can't draw shit in your town and you're really struggling, then you're probably not ready to tour. Take things one step at a time. And this is, I'm telling you, it really is all about patience. Even if you're not in a band, even if you want to do something else or another career, you have to have patience and determination, and you have to stay persistent for a long period of time, because nothing happens overnight. Very rarely do things happen within a year. Very rarely do things happen within a couple years. For Attila, it took us like 6 or 7 years as a band for anyone to give a shit about us. So keep that in mind when you're trying to get out there and you're trying to tour. Be patient. It takes time, but teaming up with other bands in other states that are of similar size, doing these show trades, branching out, building your fan base, that is how you eventually go on tour. It's not an overnight thing. You don't go from being a band in your state to boom, touring the whole country. That's very rare, and unless you have super rich mommies and daddies that are gonna pay tons of money to buy you onto a tour, that's probably not gonna happen. So do what I did. Just grind it out. Work hard. Be dedicated. Stay persistent. You gotta eat shit. You gotta live like shit. You know, it's part of the game. You know, living in a stinky van that breaks down every hour. That's part of the joy, I think, and that's part of what makes me respect where I'm at now. And I want you guys to have that same level of respect and appreciation for when your band blows up. So yeah. Best of luck. Thank you guys for signing up for my site, of course. This is some good detailed advice about touring, and if you have any specific advice moving forward from this, just shoot me a text and we'll continue this conversation. All right, thanks guys. Bye.